Superman the arcade game. I'm not surprised if you'd never heard of the 1989 Superman arcade game produced by Taito. I myself had never even heard mention of this game until recently, and now that I do know of it, I kinda wish I didn't. I discovered Superman the arcade game when one day not too long ago, I found myself wondering why, while there were so many fondly remembered Marvel arcade games, I had never heard of the same for DC. So I put on my old detective cap, grabbed a pipe, and went to Google, where I soon discovered the Superman arcade game by Taito, and after seeing a few screenshots featuring some pretty nice sprite work, I decided I would take the old gal for a spin, and what did I discover? Well, that's what I'm here to tell you about today. If you're not familiar with Taito, they're the company behind Space Invaders. They've created many classic video games over the years, alongside many terrible, awful, or just plain mid video games. Their output during the heyday of arcades was huge. They put out hundreds of games, and with that kind of output, this kind of variation in quality is to be expected. This is a case where the developer really doesn't tell us much about what we're in store for. So let's go to the manual and see what that has for us. Thanks to Internet Archive, I was able to find a full version of the arcade manual. The manual describes the game as such. Superman is a horizontal video game and may be played by one or two players interactively. The second player, controlling a red Superman character, teams up with the first player in his battle against the evil alien superpowers. Each player uses a joystick to move his Superman character while walking or in flight. Two buttons aside each joystick are used to throw punches. Kick or emit Superman's heat vision, a high-intensity laser which destroys all in its path. By pressing the punch button and holding it momentarily, Superman can throw a blast punch. As Superman picks up various colored crystals, he is awarded with additional energy and weapons, including a super blast punch and Mass Terminator. The Mass Terminator destroys all enemies presently on the screen. Items such as cars, gasoline cans, etc. can also be picked up and hurled at approaching enemies. Taito's Superman makes it possible for a second player to join the game at any time, and the players can keep playing with Taito's Continue Play option. So that covers the very basics of how you play. Unfortunately, that described nothing of the game's plot, which through my research I found out is about an alien invasion by swarms of nameless soldier aliens sent by an evil emperor who apparently is not Brainiac like I initially thought, but in fact just a guy who has the same hover platform and green skin, named Emperor Zaz. Just a boring, uninspired ripoff of an existing villain. The laziness in the creation of this main villain is a great indicator of the quality you can expect going forward. Simple palette swap enemies, repetitive bosses, and uninspired although occasionally hilarious stage design. Alright, with that out of the way, let's actually play the game so you can see what I'm talking about. If you let the title screen sit for a moment, a short cutscene will play showing Zaz holding the earth in the palm of his evil hand. That's it. That's all the plot. Alright, whatever. Let's get down to it and play this fucker. So right off the bat, the game does not make a great first impression. Look at Clark there, walking all stiff and awkward. I assume he's supposed to look determined, but it just looks like he's experiencing back pain. That animation, unfortunately, sets the standard for what we can expect going forward. While the colors are bright and some of the sprites look okay, that is about all the nice things I will have to say about this game. So basically, you fly forward while fighting a constant stream of repetitive enemies. Your weapons as stated in the manual are a punch, a kick, and a blast punch you can charge, which pierces all enemies in its path. Just look at the animations on these attacks. That punch looks hilarious. That little short-range kick looks dinky and awkward. This is a Superman game. His attacks need to look big and powerful. There should be real weight put behind every blow, not these awkward little strikes. And the blast punch, while it seems like it could be useful, requires you to stand still while charging. In a game where enemies are constantly swarming you, no thanks. So you fight through this simple beat-em-up segment, then there's a simple boss, and that's the first segment of the stage. One more thing to comment on here that I only discovered when re-recording my footage due to losing my previous two recordings. I stayed on the first screen of the stage too long, and a storm of meteors began to fall, chasing me through half the stage or so. So yeah, the game will punish you heavily for being too slow. Just look at all those meteors. The second segment sees you doing the exact same thing, only now scrolling vertically, usually with the world's tallest building stretching infinitely in the background. Finally, the third section sees you flying horizontally again, except now it's a straight up horizontal shooter, having to dodge rocks and fight helicopters and shit. You can shoot lasers from your eyes or do this dinky lame punch. You also have access to the blast punch, and now you can move while charging, which seems like it would make the blast punch useful, but when you can fire an endless stream of eye lasers just by holding a button, the blast punch ends up being essentially useless with its long charge time. Just a really poorly designed move all around. These 3 stage segments repeat for every level with some new enemy types and hazards, introducing a slight amount of variety as you go. Aside from the fact that you and the enemy sprites are just too big to maneuver easily, especially in the horizontal shooter segments, the main problem with every one of these stage segments is exactly the same. They are simple, repetitive, and mind-numbingly boring. The only reason I can think of that anyone will play this game if they saw it in the arcade is the Superman name, but after just 1 or 2 quarters, I imagine even the most die-hard of DC fans would decide their money was better spent elsewhere. But for any brave soul willing to endure the terrible boredom, there are 4 more bland stages full of repetitive action to experience. The stages take place across a variety of American cities, starting in Metropolis before going to San Francisco, Las Vegas, Washington, D.C., and finally Zaz's mothership. I don't have anyone around to play with, and even if I did, I wouldn't really feel morally okay about making someone else play this game, so I won't be trying out 2-player. But look at that second player sprite. Wonderful. Stage 1, Segment 1 features 3 enemy types, which as far as I know are unnamed. There are a yellow alien soldier and a red recolor variant of the same soldier. Both operate exactly the same, just mindlessly flying at you and occasionally attacking. Then for the ultimate in variety, there are silver enemies that can block some punches, requiring you to hit them with your low kick to kill them. Finally, you encounter the boss, who looks like a goblin-y knockoff of the Hulk. Kind of reminds me of Monster Girl from Invincible. Monster Girl walks back and forth swinging at you, just punch her repeatedly and she dies. There's no real strategy, and it's pretty much luck as to how many shots she'll hit you with while you're doing this. There's also a fence obstacle in this level you must punch to pass through. This will be a recurring thing throughout the game. Just barriers set there to waste your time. Just the saddest little attempt at adding variety, literally something that just slows you down for a split second. Then for the vertical segment of the stage. The enemies are the same, but you now fly upwards instead of to the right, and the boss is now Dalsim from Street Fighter II, flying in a circle and firing yoga fire at you, while on occasion surrounding himself in flames. He's easy and boring. Once again, no real strategy. While it's easy enough to dodge his bursts of yoga flame, you have to get close to hit him, and then the problem is the same as with Monster Girl, where he can just hit you in return while you're wailing on him. So while it's very simple, you still may get your ass kicked some. Now, from what I've read, Parasite is one of the bosses in this game. Parasite is a villain with the ability to drain the powers of anything he touches, making them temporarily his own, and making him one of the few opponents who can often be a real physical threat to Superman. He's normally depicted as a monstrous purple man, and based off of this Dalsim-looking fuck showing up again later but purple, I think that maybe this is supposed to be Parasite, but I don't know how I'm supposed to tell that. So yeah, he's Dalsim flying around shooting yoga fire. Then, for the first vertical shooter segment, you blast at flying rocks, red missiles, and girders that block your path, before facing what I initially thought was Zaz piloting an alien ship. But after reading around, I see that Lex Luthor, Superman's bald-headed nemesis himself, is supposed to be a boss in this game. So maybe the bald silhouette piloting ships in the shooting stages is Lex. It really doesn't matter though, and I can't fucking tell. Shoot him with your eye lasers until he dies, and stage 2 begins. But wait. Why would Lex even be a villain in this game anyways? The enemies are an invading alien military force. Lex would be fighting them, not helping them. He's all go humanity, go me and my big brain, rah rah. At this point though, I'm pretty sure I've put more thought into this than the game designers put into the entire plot, so I'm just gonna let it go. At this point in the playthrough, I was worried. Stage 1 had been mind-numbing, but I still held a little hope. Maybe they were just starting simple, and each stage would increase in complexity and become more fun. So I entered Stage 2, wary of what I might find, but a small flickering of hope still living inside. Segment 1 of Stage 2 kicks off with a bang as you find yourself doing the exact same thing you did in Stage 1, knocking around red alien soldiers, before you come across a new type of barrier we have yet to see, a brick wall. This functions the same as the fence. Punch it out of your way and continue to the right. There are new brown alien soldiers flying around now. They have these big webbed underarm wing thingies, and they can block punches just like the silver enemies, so just hit them where they aren't blocking and they go down. Remember kids, if the sprite looks a bit different, that's enemy variety. We also meet these enemies who for obvious reasons I will be calling Spider-Men. They climb straight up and down, occasionally stopping to spit webs at you, which will trap you in place until you wiggle the joystick enough to break free. Other than that, just hit them and they die. At least they are more interesting than the other enemy types so far, adding projectiles you have to watch out for on the beat-em-up stage segments, but also just slowing the game down with the annoying pauses to break free from web if you are unlucky enough to get hit. Who likes these kinds of attacks in games? The kind where you're just stuck and shaking the stick or hitting a button repeatedly to free yourself, but it still takes several seconds, aka one of the worst, dumbest game mechanics on the fucking planet that I vehemently dislike. Any mechanic that exists just to slow the game down like that just drives me mad. I like player agency and being able to respond to any situation. When I die, I want it to really feel like my fault, not some unfair bullshit. Dying because I had to wait several seconds to regain control and in that time an enemy spawned in, walked up and hit me is the opposite of what is fun. I also at this point thought, hey, why don't I just walk under the Spider-Men? And then I realized that they'll crawl off screen if you just dodge and walk by them. That's also when I realized that while enemies usually do follow you, after a while they will just fly off screen. So in these horizontal beat-em-up segments, it is often just a better idea to just dodge enemies, which I guess is why they added the meteors if you wait around too long. But you can also just dodge while flying forward and wait enemies out, which then explains the random barriers like the fence in Stage 1, or the brick wall in Stage 2. Inelegant, quick solutions to try to force you to engage with the game in the intended manner. It all just feels haphazard and hastily thrown together. The first segment boss of round 2 is a golden metal man who flies and teleports around, shooting blue energy balls at you. He's at least more interesting than previous bosses, but still simple and kind of annoying, as he often teleports away when you get close, meaning you miss your opportunity to attack, or only land one shot before you have to chase him down dodging his blasts again. And he can also block punches sometimes, it just draws the fight out unnecessarily. Still, it's a simple fight and relatively easy. Punch him until he dies and fly up for the second vertical beat-em-up segment. However, this time you're descending into the sewers, despite Superman taking off upwards at the end of the previous segment. Here we're fighting the same enemies with the addition of a new brown soldier type wearing blue gloves. They fly around until they're on the same level as you and then fly right at you and shoot off the stage. Punch them before they hit you or just move out of the way, letting them fly off screen and out of this miserable game, hopefully to find a better life. The stage boss is an elephant-headed alien man wearing green and purple, reminiscent of Lex's battle armor or the armor his soldiers wear. He does these feminine kicks at you. They remind me of the Rockettes. Not really anything much to say. He flies at you and attacks, just hit him until he dies and then continue on. Now it's time for more vertical flying with the addition of another type of flying rock obstacle that now breaks into two smaller chunks when shot. Other than that, it's the same as before, just shoot and dodge, then fight a boss. This time a fairly simple alien ship that fires lasers and small blue rockets at you. Dodge and fry the ship with your laser eyes for what feels like forever until the boss finally goes down. And that's stage 2. At this point, I'd pretty much accepted that this was just not a good game, but I also had to accept that I was less than halfway through. Next up is Stage 3, the City of Sin herself, Las Vegas. You're just doing the same thing as before as you make your way down the Las Vegas Strip past casinos featuring gambling and strip clubs. I'd buy that for $4.39. Fighting through the same old enemy types, just head to the right and punch. Eventually a new blue and silver enemy type with a yellow symbol on their chest appears. These guys punch balls of electricity at you. Large alien rockmen also appear. They're bigger than your average enemies, cannot fly, and take several hits to defeat. These two new enemies do little to alleviate the tedium of playing the game though. They aren't real variety, just more things for you to hit. Also during this stage I realized you can use your duck to avoid punches, so that's kinda cool. You do technically have a defensive move, something that isn't all that common in early beat-em-ups. I highly doubt the developers intended for this to be used as a defensive move though. This seems to just be a move intended to pick up items, and the dodging is most likely an unintended consequence, because no aspect of this game seems all that well thought out. Then for the stage boss, punch a blue version of Monster Girl from Invincible, because this game's greatest weapon is just recoloring sprites, and then it's time to go vertical again, as we ascend into the skies of Las Vegas, with the world's tallest building stretching infinitely in the background. The stage boss here is actually recognizable, appearing to be Metallo. He'll fire a rocket fist at you, but I just flew up to him and punched him repeatedly, and he died without doing much of anything. The background is pretty incredible though, with the Clown Casino. I want to go to the fucking Clown Casino. Goddamn game, making me want to go to a cool place I can't go. Fucking Taito. Now more flying, shooting at rocks, girders, and helicopters. Battle another alien ship, this time with tentacles made out of ball-shaped gun faces that swing up and down firing lasers at you. It's simple, but takes a lot of shots to kill. Pretty boring. Stage 4 takes us to our nation's capital, as Superman keeps punching his way through endless streams of the same enemies. Now with the addition of a brown and green clad fellow who can stretch his arm at you for a diagonal grab before pulling you in and hurting you. They take several strikes to defeat, but don't really add much of anything. There are also flying tiger mask themed wrestlers who don't seem to do anything special. There's a short range barrage of missiles to dodge at the end of the stage before fighting, yet again, another recolored boss. This time the Elephant Alien Man. Now it's time to scroll upwards, past infinitely tall buildings once again, before battling the boss, a now purple Dhalsim from earlier, in front of the backdrop of Mount Rushmore, which before this game I had no idea was actually just outside of DC behind some trees. You learn something new every day. G.I. Joe would be proud. Fly over an endless sea of trees, now with floating bullet sponge mines to avoid. I mean, just look at how many shots they take. I mean, goddamn, just fly around them. Another alien ship awaits you at the end, firing laser balls that dance around the screen. Due to how large your sprite is, all these projectiles can be a bit annoying to avoid, but overall, it's a simple fight. Now for Stage 5, which to mix things up starts with a scrolling flying segment as you invade Zaz's spaceship. This segment features a new obstacle, floating metal plates, some of which break apart when you shoot them. Ooh, wow. The boss is a wall of guns. Dodge the green laser orbs and shoot the big green spot until it dies. Now it's a horizontal beat-em-up segment, with the addition of pink bunny onesie-wearing alien ladies to assault you, along with laser walls whose emitters you have to punch, laser turrets, and the occasional wall to punch through. There are new disappearing alien ninja enemies who attempt to grab you and electrocute you. There are also new robot soldiers wielding pistols to fire blue energy balls at you, and wall segments that shift up and down, blocking parts of the screen until you punch the shit out of them. There's also this segment with these big laser barriers that appear that you have to wait to disappear before you can move forward. Not that these new enemy and hazard types really add anything, it's still the same old mindless shit as the previous 4 stages. The boss for this segment is a squad of 3 different colored masked woman wrestlers flying around trying to gangbang you. Punch them, and now it's time to fly vertically again. Another Metallo awaits you at the end of this segment, same as before, just get close and wail away. Then we are on to another horizontal shooter as we blast our way through the belly of Zaz's ship. There are new floating orbs of machinery that when destroyed will fire out a bunch of energy shots. They don't really add anything though, just dodge and shoot until you face another wall of guns. This time the energy blast as well as the glowing targets are blue instead of green, and there are 2 targets. Ooh. Finally you fight the evil Emperor Zaz himself, and it's just hilariously disappointing. Zaz just floats up and down at the edge of the screen, waiting for you to beat him up, while 2 brown versions of Monster Girl run around at the bottom punching you. Zaz will occasionally try to kick you, just punch him a bunch, and then enjoy this incredible ending. Where we discover Superman is non-binary and goes by they/them pronouns. No one let heel versus babyface anywhere near this game or he might explode. Actually, definitely tell him to play this game because that would be hilarious. So that's Taito's Superman arcade game. When I first saw there was a Superman arcade game I had never heard of, I kind of figured it had to be bad because of such a big license. If it had been good, it would have blown up. People would have loved a good Superman arcade game in the 80s, but naively I still held out hope that maybe it was a flawed but fun hidden gem. No, though, it just isn't. It's just a really bad arcade game. Well, it functions perfectly fine, that's about it. It just functions. I can see why no one talks about it. It's an overly simple, boring game. Really not much to it. The only reason anyone would ever want to play this game is the Superman license, but I doubt even the biggest Superman fans would get anything out of this. It's just an old arcade relic that deserves to be forgotten. That's really it. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. I'll be back with more game reviews and game playthroughs soon. Bye everyone, and thanks for watching.